Sure. Okay, so this is a prescient question because we've actually proposed having some sort of mechanism of automatically recording a movie of the simulation. There are compelling use cases for this. Maybe you're running your simulation overnight and you're not there in front of it while it's running, and you want to do a sort of fast forward of it the next day that kind of shows as it's progressing how the situation evolves. Another case is you want to show it to stakeholders, right? You want to sort of help them experience it without having them, maybe in a speeded up way, speeded up fashion. So there's many reasons for doing this. We have a tool which automatically takes snapshot of the screen at certain times, but right now it's just the beginning and end. We could easily make it so it does it all through if there's strong interest, but this is one of the things we're discussing with AnyLogic. Right now, you would have to depend on external tools that will do, like Camtasia or Cam Studio, that will take images of your screen. But Jeff and I were just discussing in a highly mobile conversation in New York City this morning the fact that a visual log of your simulation may be one of the most powerful things you could come away with from a run, because often the things that are visual within the model are the things that you feel are likely to be insightful about what's going on. And so being able to take these on a regular basis would be good. But again, right now it's external solutions like Camtasia, Cam Studio. Yes, and Joel.
I have a prototype of the library object that you drop on your main object, and it provides recording capabilities. So we're aware that it's very important, and definitely we will include that in solutions. But for now, it's just a prototype, and there are some issues. For example, with 3D recording, so it stays blank, or if we use another approach, then it's a little bit slower. But the good thing is that it can be aligned with model time. So no matter how which execution time you select, you can get an output with specified model time rate. That is good in comparison to Camtasia or another.
That's good. Yeah. Good. So right, with Camtasia, if your model were slower, it would be taking needlessly many sort of images of it. If it were really fast, it might miss some key dynamics. But with it built in as a solution in AnyLogic, you could tell it do this every 10 time units or what have you, or every year, and you know it's at a defined time.
Correct.
So that's fantastic news, and I'm grateful for you relating that. Other questions? Yeah. Roberto.
Is it possible to log the records, how we're going step by step? Logging the process of the development of the model, like logging, like in other software, you can log on and you can reproduce what you've done,
exactly.
the mistakes you made.
So that's a great question, and this will be something Dylan will comment on a little bit tomorrow. So we believe very, very strongly in the virtues of safe and weight successive versions of your model as they're developed, and if possible indicating the intentions behind each, because often you'll make a modification that has some goal in mind, and that will be a version of your model, and then you'll experiment with it, and then you will do another one which will, maybe it remedies a problem, maybe it fixes a bug, maybe it extends it in some way, motivated by findings or by data or what have you. So this is very important, and AnyLogic has a mechanism that's kind of a basic mechanism right now for using what are called version control systems. Two of them are supported, Subversion and CVS, which is an older system. Subversion has been until recently the dominant version control system used in the software development world, and it's one that Dylan and I used a great deal. There's a more comprehensive solution. So that's for sort of saving away versions of models, but there's a more comprehensive solution coming, which will cross-link kind of the runs performed by the model with that information about the model version, so on, that AnyLogic's working on for another release, and Anatoly will be talking about this tomorrow. We've also done work in the past, and AnyLogic is aware of this, and I think it helped stem some of the discussions, which basically involves automatically recording this information. So every time you run the model, it automatically records with what parameter values it was run. It takes a snapshot of it at the beginning and end. It records the random number seed automatically, and it records a complete copy of the model at that time. So you have complete recourse to the model source code. It's not perfect. If you're drawing from external databases, it can't magically make a copy of that database, but it's pretty darn good, and it helps for reproducibility. This is a key asset, reproducibility of model results, because all too often we find ourselves several months later, we have some really neat visuals, but we're not sure exactly what the assumptions were, or almost as bad, exactly what version of the model was used to produce them. And if you can wrap all that information together, the model version on the one hand, the model, the scenario assumptions on the other, the random number seed, and the model output, if you can cross-link all those, so you know this model output came from this model version with these particular parameters and this random number seed, that gives you a huge step up in reproducing the results. And that's what we've done with our tool, but it's going to be, something like that is going to be built into AnyLogic soon enough. And it's a very important part of modeling to make efforts to record that sort of information, even if it's only in a logbook or what have you. Often there's additional components too, like analysis you do in R or in Excel or in pick your tool on the output of the model, or papers that were used to derive parameter values that went into the model. So often there's kind of this set of conceptually interlinked documents that span from early stage analysis to model descriptions and modeling, model plans and description of metadata about where the data came from for this model, and analysis results for model outputs. All of that is conceptually linked. And we've worked on tools, two sets of tools, and AnyLogic has worked on tools to try to capture a lot of this information in one place. I personally have a real conviction that it's extremely important, and I think it can help lower the entropy, lower the complexity, and particularly the gotchas within the modeling process. So Dylan will talk a little bit about best practices tomorrow. Other questions? This is great. I hope you feel you've learned something today in terms of AnyLogic, and in terms of what you can do with it, in terms of some of the insights, in terms of this kind of nonlinearity where you add two interventions and they have effects totally different than you would think by each in isolation. Get some idea of the analytic mechanisms afforded. We have a long ways to go. We're not going to be able to cover everything tomorrow, but I'm hoping to give you a glimpse of mobility. I'd love to give you specifics on running the model many times, on calibration, some discussion of best practices, some advice from a graybeard on model conceptualization and the modeling process, and other areas that I hope will be responsive to your questions. Okay? So I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for your patience and your fortitude and wherewithal, and I'll look forward to seeing you bright and early tomorrow.